in a bid to dismantle the Fulani, it looks like Bola Ahmed Tinubu have opened the eyes of the Hausas and the Middlebelt, to get ready for what it's trying to do ahead of 2027. What's your reaction to that?
I will tell you that you are completely correct, 100% correct. That is why our viewers will listen to this man in question, who have come out clearly to express that going forward, they don't need the Fulanis to go and interface with the president on issues that borders on insecurity in the north. Because according to him, the Fulanis are the one causing the problem, and the communities where the problem are being caused are outside communities. And apart from that, shortly after I listen to this man, we're going to listen to a forum from the Middlebelt that made it emphatically clear that they are not nuts, that they were never conquered and they cannot be conquered. And as such, that they are ready to even produce the president of Nigeria. That enough is enough for the Kano and the Fulanis. But meanwhile, let's all listen to this conference of Middlebelt Forum. Thereafter, we shall equally listen to that Hausa man as we continue this conversation. You are welcome.
Peter Obi serves our purpose not only for equity, fairness, and justice, but looking at the political terrain, he stands out as the best material out there that we can market to Nigerians and say, bring whoever you want and let's match them one-on-one. Peter Obi will stand out as the best.
You are welcome back. I think we are going to see that the Middlebelt are now ready from their resolution. Then meanwhile, let's all listen to this Hausa man who have come out clearly to emphasize that going forward, the Fulanis should not be the one meeting Tinubu to address the security in the north. Listen to him as we come back to further this conversation.
The voice of wisdom has said it, but we ignored. When Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was telling us about Fulanization agenda, we all laughed. We say, what he is saying or his submission is divisive in nature. His submission is detrimental to the peace and unity of Nigeria. But today, what is happening? His prophecy has come to pass. Fulanization agenda is advancing day by day.
Let's talk about
that one aside. Let's talk about the visit of His Excellency's wife to Kano State yesterday.
Tinubu.
She visited Kano and she was warmly welcomed by the Kano State governor. And with the Kano State governor was a little girl wearing Fulani attires and holding calabash. What was that trying to put into Her Excellency's mind? They were trying to tell her that Kano State belongs to the Fulani people. The Fulani people that you know. The ones that you know that don't have even one local government in Nigeria. Talk less of having the whole state.
We know they are not Nigerians.
But look at what the governor is trying to portray. That Kano State belongs to the Fulani people. So thank God that Her Excellency is a learned person. And I know that she must have read about the history of Kano. And she ignore all what they told you about the history of Kano. I know that they must have taken you to the Emir's palace where you saw only 15 kings of Kano, only 15 emirs of Kano. How can an Asian city like Kano have only 15 kings? They have erased the history of Hausa kings that we have almost 50 kings or 40-something kings before the coming of Fulanis. So this is Fulanization agenda. And we told you that Fulanization agenda is two forms. There is Fulanization agenda using bandits, that they will go and expel all the people living in the land and take over the land. And there is Fulanization agenda using politics, the ones that politicians and emirs are using now. Like the one that they show you when you visited Kano, where you saw that small girl wearing Fulani attires, to show you that it is Fulani land. That is what they are doing. So please ignore all this history. Actually, we wanted the relationship to keep going, but because of the marginalization that we are seeing against our race, that is why we say we have to speak up. And the talk of saying that Hausa people have intermarried with Fulani, that is why they are now one. No, we are not one. We wanted to be one, but because they are segregating us, so we are no longer ones actually. Because if we are one, Hausa people too supposed to be seen occupying political positions. So it is because to them we are not one, that is why they are not allowing us. Let me take for instance in Kano, my states. You cannot see you can hardly see a government official that is a political appointee that is Hausa. There are Hausas, but they are very, very few. And so with that equity, we need equity, so that our power will be the same. But when maybe in this crisis of let me call it Hausa genocide, because those people are the ones that have upper hands. They have upper hands over us. So they are actually they are unaliving us so much, as if there is nobody that will come and talk for Hausa people. And all these things that is happening, there is no single person from the north, from all my state that say, oh, this thing is happening to Hausa people. Let us come out and help Hausa people. What some of them are even saying is that people are being treated.
But now I think this is a pure divorce. That Hausas are not saying they are totally subjugated and that they need liberation, and not calling on the Igbos and the Yorubas to come and save them. I think this is mind-blowing. Apart from that, we are seeing Middlebelt on their own shouting they want to liberate themselves, they want to even produce Nigerian president. For me, I think enough is enough. And from what we are seeing, perhaps this is why the Sultan of Sokoto expressed fear at some point in his life, that how do we survive in Nigeria break? Because I think he may be seeing the handwriting on the wall. Because even before then, we saw the Vice President of Nigeria talking about Yemi, who said that the way the country is going, that it may not be sustained. There's every likelihood of a breakup. So for me, we are already seeing an international angle to this, because even McArnold recently came up to admonish Nigerians about the dangers being perpetrated or that the Fulani pretend and the atrocity they are perpetrating right from the time of Osman Afodio. Neither going into the whole story of Fulani into Nigeria, but we know that they are the last, or they were the last to come into this part of the world, having come to meet the indigenous people of Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo, and any other ethnic minority. I understand that they came here in southern 14th century. That unfortunately, they are the one cutting the shots. Particularly in the north, whether monarchical system of government, talking about the emirship, whether political space, they have totally dominated it. To the extent that the normal Hausa man who owns those ancestral communities, areas, are now the one begging, looking for how to liberate themselves. I saw an Hausa man recently who came out to express that even the Kano state that is a pure Hausa community, that when it comes to the political positions, even as Kano have about 44 local governments, that 30-something is Fulani. So you're going to show that the Fulani man, you may call him name, but you cannot say he's foolish. He knows what he's looking for. Because they're taking over all the available political position, all the available ownership position, and currently, if you look at the political trajectory as to who will take the president of Nigeria, if Nigeria were to concede presidency to the north, you see that Hausa man is nowhere to be found. Let us look at some names that are prominent among possible aspirants or other aspirants and will be candidates of political parties. From Alhaji Atiku Abubakar to Malam Nasir El-Rufai to Kwankwaso to Malami. Name it. Where do you find an Hausa man? So it's going to show that apart from the fact that the Fulanis are doing all of this, they have completely taken up all the leadership political positions. So for me, I think the route the Hausas want to take currently, where they are now coming out to say, going forward, they will be voting for their people, no longer the Fulani, so that they can start taking their right place in the country. I want to believe that their destiny is in their hands. Hence, they are more populated than the Fulanis. Because how can you explain a situation where 60 million people, talking about the Hausas, are under the subjugation of 50 million people, talking about the Fulanis? So their destiny is in their hands.
Please, okay, thank you for that insight. But I want to say it very clearly here. At this point, we're looking at the 90 states of the north, Hausa communities, Middlebelters. How are they going to collaborate, to be able to rise against, because some of those states now are being dominated and they appear Islam. And we are seeing Islamization and arm swing to be the Fulani militia. Bola Ahmed Tinubu has said he is the Buhari everybody is looking at now. How do you think that these two people are going to liberate themselves from Tinubu's position of Islam, Buhari, and the Islamic agenda?
For me, I think it depends on how they set out the objective. Looking at the dynamics of politics from the angle that it's a game of number and that is a game of interest. And when it comes to the numbers, that the outsiders have the number, and what the Fulani use hitherto before now is strategy and gimmick. Gimmick because they infiltrate into the people, make their own candidate look attractive to the people, and they make it presentable to the people, and people generally accept the person. So if the outsiders can project their own interest through their own sons and daughters, as against whoever is being presented to them by the Fulanis, and they go for those who are of outside extraction, and to say that they will win the war.
But these are the people who cannot separate politics from religion. You know, they are being tied by...
That is our belief before now. But why I'm beginning to see it a different way is that the same people who could not separate between religion and politics and every other consideration are the same people who are now coming out to express this frustration, who are not coming out to call on the Igbos, the Hausas, the Igbos, the Yorubas, and every other ethnic minority to come to the aid of the Hausas. So hence they have realized that's why we are speaking in this manner. Ordinarily, nobody was ready to speak in this manner. So because of their realization of their predicaments and the need for liberation, that's why we are lending our voice. That the best approach is to use their number to achieve it.
Okay, talking about a situation where 2027 is not realistic, and all of a sudden we are seeing Nigeria being taken from Nigeria being taken from Nigeria. What I mean is that the world decided to separate Nigeria along Christian Islam protectorate.
For me, I think that is still yet to be seen. But we understand that going by Nigerian tenets of Nigerian constitution, the freedom of religion to the extent that if you are a Christian, you are a Muslim, you are a pagan, you are free to practice your faith. However, we have seen some intolerance in our system, leading to the lynching of some persons in the country, which the world condemn, which personally I condemn. But I want to say that we must continue to foster peace from our own angle as Christians. But however I look at it, there's every need to punish offenders of the law. Because for me, that is the best way to deter people from committing crime.
Well, seeing Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that's what we're talking about. That in case it got to that level politically and otherwise, and there's an uprising against the Fulanis in the north, that will trigger a possible division, you know, how do you think that the average Muslim and Christians in the north will survive?
It is going to be a Herculean task for them, judging by the level of resources they have. But ordinarily, looking at the current trend of things, a situation where solid mineral is being discovered in quantity in the north, I want to say that if it is properly harnessed to the maximum without mismanagement, that they will have something to leverage on. But in this current circumstance, if there is a division and the solid mineral is in the hands of those who filter it without bringing it to the benefit of the people, it's going to be a very tight situation for the north, for the Fulani. That best explains the reason they stand against everything that has to do with secession. Even when the president recently talked about state police, we understand that that seeks to solve the age-long insecurity. The major reason the Fulanis are kicking against the state police because they feel that once you have state police and they are armed, that is an avenue to divide the country. Hence, states will not command security architecture that bears armed. That is part of their fear. But for me, it's a misplaced priority because whether we like it or not, we need to collectively solve this problem of insecurity. But politically speaking, to answer the question directly, it will be a Herculean task for them to survive. Talking about the Fulanis, the northern part of the country, judging by their current revenue generation in their part. Do not forget that recently when the government, talking about federal government, mooted the idea of amending the tax laws, about 4 tax laws, the northern part of the country use their number in the National Assembly to ensure that they expunge every area they felt was repugnant to the interests of the north. Because before then, the north raised issue that the south want to take away their revenue. And the revenue you are talking about is revenue that comes from the southern part of the country. simply because the government wanted to restructure it. And before they passed the bill, they used a number in National Assembly to water it down to the extent that all area they felt was repugnant to the interest of the North that seek to remove the revenue according to them. They export it from the bill, and the version they passed is the one that accommodated their interest.
But that looks like as if they are also using the same measure to sabotage place to tame the challenges of insecurity in Nigeria from what you said that took place in the National Assembly, given that most of them are invisible. Are controlling the visible in the forest.
In a way, they use a number to do all of that. Don't forget that when the Senate Committee on Constitutional Review visited Plateau State some time ago for the state governor and government of Plateau State to have their input into the constitutional amendment, when the state governor moved forward and made a proposal for state police, BHR in that state wrote to say no, they're against state police. And every Nigerian, particularly patriotic Nigerians, have declared that state police is a panacea to solving Nigeria insecurity problem. But the Fulanis are averse to it. They have a contrary opinion to the best of their knowledge. I don't know why they think in that direction.
Members of the Métis Allah are already contesting political positions in 19 states of the North. And what does that actually portend?
It has always been the case.
Métis Allah.
Yes, it has always been the case. What it portends is that they want to advance their conquest agenda. And now that the Hausas have realized their mistake, they should probably use their number to counter that push. I think it's as simple as that.
When they have occupied the federal level for years, having all the structure, how do you think, that an Hausa man who have not been given an opportunity to become a councillor or a local government chairman will muster the resources to be able to push for either governorship or, at the national level?
It's not about who occupy the national level. It's about the resolve of the people. It's not about who have the resources. It's about the resolve of the people. Except the way we are seeing it, the narrative, the advocates
policy in Nigeria requires money and funding. And in a situation where you do not have the necessary structure to be able to push a candidate, and most of those structures are being controlled by the Fulanis. We are seeing it in the police. We are also seeing it in the military. That is the fear, and that is what is being seen as a major setback.
Money cannot be compared to the strength of a people. Money controls politics, particularly Nigerian politics, but not when the people have come up with a resolution. This is about, we are talking about a people saying enough is enough. So it is irrespective of money. If what we are seeing in the media from those advocates is anything to go by, that money cannot deter and stop their move to have their people in government.